You guys, look at this. Are you kidding me? It's a unicorn coffee mug. What? So perfect. And then look at this. Treasures I bring with me from Arkansas. Thanks to a dear friend. This is Priscilla. Priscilla is not new here. But she wanted to be in the space, in the container. Also have rose quartz here and a Lumerian seed crystal quartz. Welcome. It is the summer solstice, and oh my goodness, has it been a difficult and kind of dark week, emotionally speaking, for me, and mentally speaking, and physically speaking. So yeah, it was also a new moon this week. I have been traveling for 3 weeks, so this is my first week back home. And it also just so happened to be the start of my menstrual week. So there's just a lot kind of going on, I think contributing to it all. And so I really want to talk about it because I'm in this space now where it feels very aligned to what the solstice represents, and that is a union of the light and the dark, of the day and the night, and experiencing the oneness of both of those polarities in balance. And the space I find myself in today, reflecting on the week, and then also just like feeling into the energies of the day. I went and spent the morning swimming in the ocean, and it was really beautiful. I also did a lot of reflecting and articulating what I'm releasing and I'm no longer clinging to or holding on to from an identity perspective, from a storytelling or narrative perspective about myself, about my circumstance, about other people, about spirit, about anything. Um, oh, sorry, lost my train of thought there. Patterns or just like anything that is not helping me progress forward in the direction that I want to be progressing forward. So then the other side of that is, what is the direction that I'm choosing to navigate in? And am I aligned in my soul, in my mind, and in my body in that direction? And I feel like that really is such an important aspect of health, well-being, manifestation, general just joy, and being in a state of joy, or being in a 5D frequency, or being in a frequency of union with all that is, and just the peace and trust and satisfaction that comes along with living and experiencing your life like that, in that state of being. So this past week, I was really, the reason why it felt heavy and dark and challenging for me is because I was really being shown a lot of patterns and behaviors that I do that um, just aren't necessarily helpful. And one of them is a mental pattern of the way that I am thinking about how I go about my day, how I show up as a person, the narrative that is going on in my mind, the story that I'm telling, um, the ways in which I drain my energy versus cultivate and grow my energy or harness my energy. Where am I harnessing my energy and seeing all of the ways that I like scatter it and give it away or don't protect it. Um, so it, anytime that you're doing shadow work, if that like just deeper emotional work, especially that requires honesty and vulnerability and a willingness to look at where you're not being the best version of yourself or where you need to improve. You could say it's like a hit to the ego, at first, right? Because I think we tell ourselves it's not that bad, or um, it's not that much, or like, oh, it's just this one time. Like, and then things that we don't necessarily want to be happening are happening. So it's like, oh, I'm just not going to the gym today. Oh, well, I'm not just not going to the gym today. Oh, well, I'm just not going to the gym today. And eventually, you're just not a person that goes to the gym. And so it's like who we are is who we think we are, and who we say we are, and who we be through our actions, who we are. And I was just really being shown like where through my actions and choices am I not really in alignment with the version of myself that I really want to be in alignment with. And that's like a little bit, it stings a little bit to look at that, right? It's like getting a truth bomb from your best friend and you're like, oh shit. Yeah, like no, I know that was happening, but like I just wasn't ready to look at it yet, or just like I just didn't have the capacity. So then that's the other lesson that I've been learning is that then I beat myself up over it and am like, oh, well, great. So you suck. Maybe you are a burden. Maybe you don't actually help others or give them love in the way that you think that you do. And maybe, like if you're not contributing, then you're not then you're not worthy. Like here you are not contributing and you're being a burden to these people. And it's like those unconscious narratives were going on and it was not helping anything. It's like if you expect like the mind or the ego wants it, like treats it as like, no, I'm just helping you to be better. But no one gets bullied and then is like better because of it. And then like have the bully turn around and be like, oh, I was helping you to be stronger. Like, no, that's gaslighting. Like you were bullying me. Like, so I just I also got to see as all of this was coming up, another underlying narrative or unconscious narrative that I had going on was just about how like the bully that's there and just how subtly and almost like sneakily I didn't even realize like how mean I am to myself and the expectations that I hold to myself that are so overbearing and pressurizing that I freeze. and shut down and don't accomplish what any part of me wants, really. And so it was like, here I was this week, really exhausted from traveling. Traveling takes a lot out of me energetically because, for so many reasons, I'm not in my own cultivated, safe space. I'm in other people's energies. I'm in different environments. I'm not in my routine. And so that just inherently takes a lot more energy. But then it also takes, like, I'm a projector. I have a lot of open centers in human design. I'm a very sensitive person energetically, which means emotionally, which means, like, when I have people that are close to me, I feel what they're feeling. Like, and it's very easy for me to take that on. And I understand that it's my responsibility not to take it on. But again, that's just another thing that requires a more conscious and therefore energy consuming activity while I'm traveling that drains my energy a little bit because where I'm mixing with other people in a really close environment. And so that's not a bad thing. It's a beautiful thing because I love the people that I travel to go see and the experiences that I have when I travel. I love doing it. I'm just finally coming to understand that it has a cost. And so anyways, it takes a lot out of me, so I'm just drained a little bit more anyways, and then plus just literally the physical aspect of traveling. And then I also started my period, and so I was just really did not have energy. I didn't have energy to work. I didn't have energy to create. I didn't have energy to talk to people or reach out to people. And after so many weeks of traveling and having the focus kind of be a little bit off center of what it is when I'm not traveling, which again is not a bad thing, it just is what it is. I was like putting a lot of pressure on myself to get back into my routine and get back to it and not waste any time. But my body and my emotions were just like not into it. And like, rather than being loving to myself and patient and kind to myself and giving myself the benefit of the doubt and recognizing that I just needed to rest, I would have had a much easier week. It would have been a lot easier to navigate and a lot more, I'll even say rejuvenating, and actually genuinely recharging had I not been counteracting what I was already just, my body was almost forcing me to do because I just had no energy. Then it would have happened probably in less days rather than it taking like basically till halfway through Thursday to after coming home on like late Sunday night. To recover, it probably would have been, maybe 3 days or whatever. And I also would have enjoyed it more. Like, I would have just let myself be present with rest and be intentional with rest rather than be half resting and half beating myself up because I'm resting and like, oh, you should go do something. Oh, you should go do something. Oh, you should go be productive. Oh, you should blah, blah, blah. Oh, you're not doing that. Oh, okay. Next level. You really suck. Like, you're a burden on people. You're lazy. You're like on and on and on. And then it circles back, and I take a breath and I take a break, and I, come back to center. And it's like, no, like, you just need to rest. Like, it's okay to rest. And so it just was this like yo-yo thing that had I, like, the more productive thing to have done would have been to fully and unequivocally let myself rest and say, I will get back to creating when I am replenished and when I am taken care of, so that I can create from a place of overflow instead of a place of, my characteristic is resentment. So if I feel obligated or like I have to do something, and like I feel that way when I'm not being cared for, and when my needs are not met, then it's very difficult to not eventually get to a point where my tank is completely empty and then I feel some type of negative way about it. Usually resentment, like, so bitterness, I think, is my like shadow thing of like, I'm bitter about this, and I don't like to get to that state. And I've really come to understand that the most loving thing to do for yourself and for anyone else really is to fill your own cup first and then give from overflow, because then the well never runs dry and everyone gets everything that they want and need. And that's abundance. That's the nature of reality. That's how it works. That's the infinity symbol. That's the fabric of all that connects us. It's love. And I just was not very loving to myself this week. So I just really want to acknowledge that, and I want to apologize to myself for that, because I wouldn't treat anyone outside of me that way. It's really sad the way that I can talk to myself. And if there is a devil, which I don't believe in, I think it's like a Christian thing, and I definitely resonate more with Eastern pathways and descriptions of creation and the divine than I do with Western ones. But OMG, I lost my place. If I did believe in the devil or evil, which I think is just the veil of consciousness from one of hatred and fear, which is basically the frequency of some of these thoughts. That's what I would envision it to be. Envision the devil to be. Thoughts, a frequency. The devil is a frequency of, on the end of the frequency spectrum of fear and extreme fear and extreme hatred, extremism. But it's important to notice and recognize that when you take the extreme to the extreme, what inevitably happens is that the next cycle begins and it transforms into than the light. And that's, again, the infinity. That's the union of the yin yang. That's the breath of Brahma. And so fear, there's only love. So the experience of fear is just, that's why they say it's always darkest before the dawn. Because the more that you go in one direction, you're also going further away from this and closer to this. And at some point, they come back to meet each other and begin again. And so I had this realization, I think, for the very first time when I was processing grief of my mother and grief of my dog and grief of my marriage and just the amount of loss that I have experienced. And it was kind of in a meditative moment. It was an emotional moment, but it was also meditative. And not only did I see the coming together of the extreme ends of the poles, but I saw how, like, I felt how to know the feeling of grief, the only reason that it could exist was because such an immense love existed. The only reason that I feel fear is so that I can protect myself and preserve myself, so that I can stay alive, so that I can have this really cool human experience, so that I can have the experience of polarity to be able to create and come to know and experience myself as whatever I want that to be. I get to choose it. And what a miraculous experience that is. And so on the solstice, we're really, really deep into that energy now of coming together, of unifying, of hope, of breathing through the process of being reborn into a new state of being, into a new identity, into a new consciousness, to trust that it is darkest before the dawn and that the light of day always comes. So, okay, we're doing an energy transmission now. Hmm. Thank you for sitting with me. Or just being with me, whatever you're doing. Thank you for witnessing me. Thank you for sharing your journey with me. As my fellow human family, I love you. You're not alone. I'm not alone. We have so much more in common. Or at the very least, we have equal in common as we do in our uniqueness. And both deserve to be honored. Our connection to each other, the love that we share, the shared human experiences that we have. This week in New York, the Knicks won the NBA championship, and I thought that the mayor did a really good job of doing the parade on Thursday and having, he said something of how beautiful it is that we come together, 2 million people come together in joy, in unfiltered joy, in celebration. And in New York, of all places, where there's so many things to focus on about the differences among the people there, among each other. I think that's the beauty and the romance of sports and of the human spirit, to come together and find something that we can agree on, like our team winning, or witnessing a baby, or the heartache and loss and grief of losing a loved one, or an animal, or a friend. We all have a shared desire for love and joy and peace and safety and freedom and sovereignty for ourselves and our loved ones. Maybe not, maybe we have different ways of what that looks like or what that means, and that's okay, but we can understand each other on that level. We can understand ourselves on that level. I don't want to be a bully to myself anymore. That's something I'm letting go. I'm appreciative of the darkness that I navigated this week so that I could understand that this was the story that was going on and that this was how it was showing up. And that I am absolutely worthy and have value, regardless of if the way that I contribute looks this way or that way or that way. It can look infinite ways. And that I value being kind to all beings, and that includes myself. And that if I can do that with myself, then I can do that better with all of you. That's what I'm working on anyways. So here's to learning how to love ourselves better. It's a process. Unicorn magic is here to help in believing in ourselves and just remembering to be joyful and playful and colorful. Remembering that rainbow frequency. Oh gosh, it's so good. I love my rainbow frequency. All the colors of the rainbow uniting as one. Like humanity. We've got this, you guys. We're gonna figure it out. Love always wins. Okay. Go forth and prosper. I love you. Have a beautiful week. Create some beauty. Remember who you are. Remember your immense power as a creator. Take a deep breath. Make some magic. Have some fun. Reach out if you need support. I love you.